Hey guys, Dr. Cobb here. Just want to take a moment to talk to you a little bit about motivation and how we motivate our employees to achieve those important strategic objectives and goals we might have from an organizational perspective. So motivation is that characteristic that helps you achieve your goal. It's the drive that pushes you to work hard. What gets you up in the morning, what makes you want to go out and accomplish those things that you have to accomplish, but really, gets you going. And we want to think about this from the perspective of an organization. How do we get my employees to behave a certain way to reach those strategic goals and objectives that I need so the organization can be successful? So a couple of popular theories exist out there. The first one is Maslow's theory of motivation. So this is more along the lines of psychological and social. It's developed along those lines, but it can be applied to organizations as well, as he recognizes that there's this pyramid with some very important levels of what we want to try and achieve on a personal level, on a psychology or social level. So he said at the bottom of the pyramid, we've got psychological needs. The next one is safety, social esteem, and then self-actualization. And he says this is kind of the pyramid for people. This is what drives people. This is what motivates them in life in general to be successful. And then we've taken this and we've kind of applied it to the business world, if you would. So at the bottom, we've got that psychological need. So food, water, warmth, and rest. So we have to achieve that. And what Maslow says, what some people might disagree with, is you have to achieve each level before you can move to the next level. So he says you have to have that food, warmth, that rest, that important category for survival. Those are kind of our basic needs, right? And he says once you fulfill that, you can move up to those safety needs, so security and safety. And he says once you check that box off, you've got those basic needs of what you need to sustain yourself, we can move to the next section, or psychological needs. And he says that sense of belonging and love needs, that intimate relationship and friends, and then next, esteem needs, so prestige and feeling of accomplishment. And then he says once we have those psychological needs met, we can move to that top of that pyramid, so that self-actualization, achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. So Maslow says as we check off these boxes or these levels, we can move up to the next level and start working on that level. So at the lower end of the pyramid, we got those basic needs. In the middle, we've got psychological needs. And at the very top, we've got self-fulfillment needs, that self-actualization. So when we apply this to organizations, we can think about what might motivate our employees and how to motivate them to help reach those strategic goals and objectives we have from an organizational perspective so we can be successful. So am I paying my folks enough so they can buy food and have a place to live? Am I paying them enough to be able to have that basic need of survival? Those safety needs, are they safe at work? Am I paying them enough to live in a place that provides safety, that they can feel safe when they're at home? Am I meeting those needs through maybe the way I pay my employees? The next is those psychological needs, so belonging and love needs. Does my employees get along with each other? Is there a sense of teamwork? Do they work together? Do they enjoy each other's companies? Do they make friends? Do they have the kind of relationship and bond at work that gives them something else to look forward to when they come to work? The esteem needs. So do they feel accomplished in the job that they're doing? Do I make them feel accomplished? Do I tell them they're doing a good job? Do I give them that sense of accomplishment of what they're achieving? And then self-actualization needs. So are they using their full skill set? Are they, critically thinking through tasks and objectives they have to complete? Do they feel like, they're living up to their potential? They're doing as much as they can do, that they're really allowed to be creative and use all the different skills that they have and the tasks that they perform. So this is how we can take Maslow's idea, which was originally kind of developed on the psychology and social side of life and what it takes to sustain us, and kind of apply it to an organizational setting or the business setting, if you would. Another important motivational idea was Heisberg's motivation hygiene theory. And in this two-factor theory, it's probably really similar to what Maslow has in his ideas and concepts of what he came up with. So the argument against Maslow's pyramid was Maslow said you have to achieve each one before you can move forward. And people said, no, you can work on more than one part of the pyramid at the same time. It doesn't have to be a checkoff box. It can be a mixture, especially when we think about in terms of organizations and businesses and how they might apply it to understand what motivates employees. So Frederick came along and he came up with this kind of split idea as far as what motivates people and what works against that, what really takes away from that motivation. Why do some people have a lack of motivation in what they do? So he came up with this unique theory called the hygiene theory. And he says there's two different levels to this, or two different sections. He says there's satisfiers, which are the motivators, and there's dissatisfier hygiene factors, which are the demotivators, if you will, things that kind of work against why someone might be motivated when it comes to the work experience. And he focused a little bit more when he came up with this on organizations and businesses themselves. So Maslow was more on the psychology, social aspect, what drives us to get up in the morning and survive at the human level. And Heiberg said, well, let's go ahead and apply this a little bit more directly to businesses and how we might think about this from a motivation aspect. So he said some motivating factors could be achievement recognition, work itself, responsibility. And then some things that work against that could be company policy. So that red tape, right? Supervision. We don't like working for our boss. We don't want to feel micromanaged. The working conditions, maybe, what I'm paid, the people I work with. So when you look at this, it's very similar to Maslow's, except for the fact that he went straight at the business road. He really applied this directly to organizations and how organizations function. But when you look at a lot of the examples he has listed here, it's really close to Maslow's pyramid, except for the fact he defined it more along the lines of business as opposed to just the human experience itself. So Heisberg said the job should have sufficient challenges to utilize the full ability of the employees. So if we feel underutilized, if we feel like our task is very mundane, it's below us, he said it should be automated, or the employees should be moved on to somewhere else where they feel challenged, where they feel like they can use their full set of skills and critical thinking processes in order to be successful. And anytime that task is, below the employee or doesn't match up to the employee's skill set, then that particular function should be automated for the benefit of the employee and the organization. So some criticism, the main one was that it's very simplistic, it's very straightforward, it's not really complex in how he approached motivators and demotivators for employees. That list there is very simplistic, very straightforward. So some people thought maybe it wasn't expanded enough. It wasn't in depth enough to really understand the motivations of employees and what motivates them to try and achieve those strategic goals and objectives of organizations. The last one I want to talk to you is about McGregor's theory X and Y. So McGregor said there's two different types of employees and two different ways to approach them. So theory X assumes that workers have little ambition and dislike work. So definitely that dissatisfier hygiene sign of Herzberg's. And then theory Y assumes that workers can exercise self-direction, desire, and responsibility. So he pretty much was saying theory X, I have to watch them, I have to stay on them constantly. They're going to try and take shortcuts. They're going to try and do as little bit as possible in a working environment in the day to get paid, or they're coming in purely for the check and nothing else. And I really have to stay on top of them. And then he argued theory Y were those employees who enjoyed their work. They found a lot of self-actualization and self-esteem in their work, and they're really motivated to be there. They wanted to be there. They didn't have to be micromanaged. They could be trusted on their own. So these are just some different theories and ideas when it comes to motivation, how we might motivate our employees, and things to think about when it comes to connecting with them to try and get them to achieve those strategic objectives and goals that we have so we can be successful as an organization. Thank you for joining, guys. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will talk to you later.